So let's say I walk into a room, and I walk in with a friend of mine. They might be of a different sexual orientation, they might be of a different race, but us walking in at the same time and we both get treated the same way.
Just treat people based on their personality instead of treating people based on anything else. That's what it means.
It needs to be defined by the person themselves.
I am Punjabi, and that is like, it's a culture in India. It's like the northern part of India, and my religion is Sikhism. So just like equality in general, it really touches home. In Sikhism, it's like our very first guru, which is like our very first teacher. He really promoted the idea of what langar is, and langar is like it's like a community meal, and it allows like everyone from, doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, whatever caste you are, because back in the days people had like caste systems in India, and that's how they were divided. They were not treated equally, and so the langar itself, like the community service, like the meal they would have, it would allow everyone to come, and you would all sit on the ground. So that shows that everyone is equal. Because back in the days, like some of the ones that were more wealthy, they would sit on chairs. They would, be more in fancy locations, and the ones who were poor, they would be like outside, or just like they were just not sitting together. And now, like the langar just allows everyone to come in together.
Everybody has the same opportunity as another person, regardless of your gender, your ethnicity, your socioeconomic status, and other factors like those. I feel that if you can do the job that you're being asked to do, or you're required to do, regardless of physical or social factors, then you should be able to do that job.
Everybody being treated the same, being treated fair, having the same, not necessarily like the same views, but I don't know, like
the same like opportunities.
Yeah, that's
Basically, it's just equal, like equal rights.
Equality means that everyone feels comfortable and safe. It's about having a mutual respect for people and like the environment, and just everybody feeling respected.
I would say like acceptance of everyone being their truest self.
We are equally different, and these differences have historical and cultural significance.
Equality to me means a world that is not perfect, but that can learn how to cope with just the word different. Not a world that is structured or given a certain rubric as to what to follow, but to just understand that everyone is different, that everyone has different opinions. Nobody is the same. And to actually cope with that. You don't have to agree with it, but to live in a world where it's accepted.
So what does equality mean to you?
Well, I could say it means being treated equally. Sometimes equality means exactly equal. Sometimes it means equity. Equality would mean that I, as a female, have the same opportunity as a male in terms of getting a job, getting paid. Equity means that you're working with the individual difference the person might have from someone else, but everybody is being treated fairly.
I was born here in the U.S., but my parents are from Ghana in West Africa. They've been in the country for about 31 years, and even though they're both American citizens, they're discriminated against a lot for being from Africa and for having an accent.
Kind of not present necessarily, but it never has been. I don't think it will be necessarily either. There's a lot of prejudices and structures that kind of hinder that from ever existing, but I think that's just beyond our control. We can only get so close to that goal. So.
America the nation, right? It's supposed to be like what known as the melting pot, but that's not exactly how it is. Yes, there are like, it's probably like the biggest country that has varieties of all sorts of like different ethnicities, but as how like everyone just thinks individually, I don't think so.
On a surface level, equality meaning everyone is equal, but unfortunately in our system, of course, that's not possible. I think that racism, homophobia, a lot of those more negative traits are, inherent in our very country. So equality for me is an ideal, a perfect world, but not necessarily achievable to its fullest extent.
I feel that there's places to go still. It's certainly better than it was at any other point in the past. So if you base it on trends, it's certainly going up. So in an optimistic way, it's improving.
I know we're really divided right now as a country. So, I mean, I know it's like a shaky topic, but right now, I mean, I feel like we've come a long way from like where we've been in the last like 50 to 100 years. We've come a really long way, especially with like now we're accepting more like transgender too, like with Bruce Jenner, now Caitlyn Jenner, and all that stuff. And I noticed like on certain websites, I think Penn State does it too, where you search the drop-down box for your gender, and there's like multiple genders.
We strive to make things comfortable for each other, where we feel like we're being fair. But I feel like right now equality is just a word. People are not really working to be together. People are working to be divisive.
As long as humans operate from the psyche, there will always be discursive practices and people who are stuck in the shadow and don't understand that we're all the same, on the same marble. But that's how I feel about America's equality. It's trying, it's there, and it's been here for a while, but it's always going to need a push because there's always going to be aversion to it.
We are very progressive in a sense, but we're still very restricted by our own merit because we try to push to make everything free, but by doing that there's inherent flaws that we refuse to deal with, which kind of stems to more inequality.
I think we've made a lot of headway, obviously, but I think there are still some issues. You hear a lot of things with, urban communities down south and police shootings, and so I think there are still some issues.
Yes, but no, because by that I mean we are equally the same.
There is also a history of systemic racism, paternalism, sexism, heterosexism, and so on. Because schools, going back to my field, of course, of study, because schools tend to not teach about these inequalities.
If we just give up and let things go on how they are right now and just let things unravel, it could be disastrous. But if we actually come together and work towards action, then a lot of problems probably could be solved.
As someone who is not impacted by equality, I'm a 6'2" white man. It's never been an issue for me. So someone like me, or someone who's not as impacted negatively, standing up for people just in their own lives, I think it starts at an individual basis level.
If you look at the demographics of who voted and why they voted, it kind of pushes all the racism and all that stuff to the back burner because no one wants to deal with it. Everyone wants to think that everyone's a good person, no one's racist, but that's not true. And our refusal to talk about it is kind of the reason why Donald Trump is president.
This election's scary. It was kind of a wake-up call for me. I don't know how someone who represents such negativity was able to get elected. So it definitely shows you that there's still some issues as far as equality, and I think it's brought to light that,
Depends how the president, obviously, how he
words his what he says and stuff like that. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he says some things that he doesn't actually mean. He just says them, he's in the moment. So hopefully it turns out well. Hopefully he tones down his rhetoric.
My personal opinion. So I feel like, you know, if anything, it's going to be further away because of what he said and what he's done. It's going to make things harder for, especially if we're striving for equality, it's going to make things harder to get there.
The impact that it has right now, before even being put in office, is kind of scary. We all knew the America that we lived in. We just didn't think that it was this damaged.
Nothing. It'll still improve at the same trend that it always has.
And it took 200 years. It was 400 years of slavery, and the time that it takes for something to come out, it's double that for it to truly be over. So it's been about 200 years since slavery was abolished. It's going to take another 600 years for like that equality and respect to come back. It's going to be well beyond my lifetime. I honestly feel like as a society, if more people individually realize their self-worth, and no matter what community you're in, and do what they can do to promote themselves and be their best individual, you'll have an impact on the future.
I think based off of some of his, the president-elect's comments, I think it might worsen just because of the comments he makes about women, and I know that's one thing that women have been fighting for a long time, is equality, in like such as in the work field or getting equal pay, stuff like that. So I think it might get worse, but hopefully it doesn't.
There's this great term that I heard called white lash after the election, where the people who are in power, presumably white men typically, but also white women like myself and others, who are scared because all of a sudden the minority groups are getting attention, and they're like, whoa, it's always been us, the center of attention for so long. And so there's this backlash, this white lash of racism that's coming to the surface that maybe wasn't as prevalent or represented in the media as it was before.
I think that it already has had an impact, even though like the president himself isn't in the office right now. I remember like someone asked me a question. This was like on the campus like a few weeks ago. It was during election times, and they asked like where I was from. They're like, you don't seem American. You're not American. You're like, you're from somewhere else.
I don't think it'll damage anything too much. I think we need to give it a chance. I think we need to give the new administration a chance to show what they're gonna offer. Cause I know like people all of a sudden once he got elected were like, oh my god, the world's gonna end, and it's not gonna end. Like the country's not gonna end. At the end of the day, we as Americans we always seem to go through it and get through it.
Donald Trump was very divisive with his campaigning, it seemed. But I feel like that was just for that purpose. Whenever he is put into the office, it's going to be a whole different story.
I'm really just at a loss for words as far as the election and what it's going to mean for equality.
Well, it's pretty visibly shown that people don't want to treat others fairly. They don't want to treat their group of people who think they're better than others, like higher than others.
The election results won't have an effect on me personally because I know I'm white, I'm straight, and it's not going to have much an effect on me personally, but it will have a big effect on people I know and people who are around me, and I know that. So I think that the election results will make a huge negative impact on America.
So this chapter, this Trumpian chapter that we're in, maybe it's a segue into something else. That's the hopeful side of me, the optimistic side.
Give people like equal chances, I guess. Like if someone were to come up to me about anything, I would give them the same opportunity as like anyone else. If that makes sense, I guess.
I stand up when I see something
Yeah,
happening.
me
Like
too.
if I see something racist or if I see someone being treated unfair because they're like transgender or
Mhm.
gay or something, I completely stand up because I
Yeah.
don't think it's fair. Like they're still the same person, they're still a human being, they still have feelings.
One thing that I don't do is I don't discriminate against anyone. Like if you give me a good vibe and we're like you come up to me or I come up to you and we start talking, that's one thing that I do is like I interact with everyone because I don't care where you come from, I don't care what you look like, I don't care who you date, I don't care like what you look like. I'm gonna treat you like a person just the same way I want to be treated.
Raise more awareness and tell people, inform them, especially when they're kind of judgmental. I would kind of give them my answer and try to persuade them that it's better to have equality.
I hope that the way that I teach encourages my students to value people with different backgrounds and to have just a sense that everyone should have the same rights and opportunities in life.
I just learned that I need to have an open mind because I can't lie. I was afraid of white people growing up. Like everything for a long time, I only saw white people on television. Then, like when I started learning about them in school, all I told us was slavery. And then it's like, you know, going down south, I went to Duke University, had like a racist encounter, and that was like my first real experience with white people. So I was afraid of white people because of things that happened in the past. But like as I grew up, I started meeting white people who weren't. And I met every day, like Caucasian people living their life like me, like struggling. And it's like I decided the best thing I can do is break the stereotype.
Well, as a humanities writer, I always love a good chance to shoot down discursive practice, either through writing or performance in composition as an actor, musician. I also like to convey it's becoming popular now that equality and such is becoming popular. These ideas I like to convey through performance as well. So between performing and writing other people's work, my work, art and literature is a really good medium to work equality.
I have a literary magazine. I run 2 literary magazines in school and outside of school. And in both of those publications, we're doing a campaign right now where we seek submissions from people who are underrepresented or experiencing these hate crimes. And we're calling it Project Empathy. It's kind of an effort to make these voices heard in a positive way that maybe they wouldn't otherwise get.
I think with some of the comments that the president-elect has made, he's kind of implying that he's not really going to be a president for all Americans, because a lot of people have had concerns about, will he really accept all Americans, or is it just the America that he's used to, which leaves out a lot of people.
I would say that my work life is largely devoted to exposing my students to the ways in which equality and inequality in particular is experienced in the United States and throughout the world.
Well, since I want to be a counselor / like educator, I try to educate people about what equality is, because I have siblings and I don't want them growing up thinking that this is equality, what we have now. So I educate them like, no, this is what equality is. This is what it's supposed to be. This is how people are supposed to talk to you and how you're supposed to talk to people. So mostly just try to educate.
I mean, I don't do anything publicly, but if someone says something that's just really wrong, I make sure to tell them that that's not right. Like you can't say that stuff.
I will look back and say, well, do you really think this, or is this someone else's thoughts that you're thinking? Is this what you've just been told that you should think automatically? And we'll reevaluate what I've previously thought.
Always looking at something and not from my perspective, but from, possibly their perspective or where they're coming from, because I think a lot of what keeps people from seeing equality is that they see it in their shoes, but they don't step out of it and look at it from someone else's shoes.
Well, being an educator for 13 years and even before that, coaching and whatnot, I try to instill in the young people that I work with and coach and teach how important it is to be respectful of one another and not be judgmental. And I try to point out, especially with younger children, how differences actually make you unique, and it's good that we're all different.
I think that people should just get to know other people. I think that a lot of times, you know, for students, if they're walking down the hall and they see somebody who looks different or speaks differently from them, they assume like, oh, well, I don't have anything in common with that person. And I think that you should just take a chance and get to know other people.
Love each other. like I feel like we all just need to like put away like the judgment and like
the hate and just like, I don't know, have more of an open mind. I feel like a lot of people are closed-minded about things, and just to expand your horizon and maybe put yourself in different people's positions and be like, well, if I were a lesbian, how would I feel like being treated like that way? Or if I was black, or you know, if like just look at it different ways, like put yourself in other people's positions.
So why can't we all just get along?
Do research into why, what's the issue, what's going on, how things came to be. A lot of that like effort isn't there.
Understanding the history of inequality is the baseline.
To just be a decent human being and understand that everyone is different. Everyone has something going on. You don't know what's going on in their life, and that you can't just assume. You just want to be able to treat everyone the same way, in a nice way, essentially.
I say just being a good person, you know, not bringing in preconceived notions about anybody, you know, just talking to people, you know, different people, and just, you know, being open to learning new things, learning things about people.
Stand together and just show them, like, just a president, he runs the country, but he doesn't run the country. We run the country. So whatever happens, it's because of us.
My personal view is that a lot of it comes down to education and equal access to education, which I don't believe we have as a society right now. So, I believe we don't have an integrated school system or a fair or equal school system, so that would be a good place to start.
To promote equality, you have to be just a regular person, because it doesn't get any more raw than that.
Anytime we see something that's derogatory to equality, I think one person stepping up and saying, hey, that's wrong, can lead into more voices. So just seeing something and doing something could ignite the change that we need to get to increase equality, I guess it.
I think we just need to work together and think of each other as, like, see deeper into each other than our outward appearance.
We just need to work harder when we see injustice and inequality happening, and when it do, just act on it at the time. I feel like everyone should do a part in it and just not let something like that slide.
Everyone is your customer. So everybody that you touch, you have some impact on.
Don't be afraid to be who you are.
That's a good one.
That would be what I say. Like, if you are gay, if you're transgender, if you're part of the LGBT community, if you're black, Mexican, Muslim, like, love yourself. Like, be who you are. Don't be afraid to be yourself. Like, if you think you're gonna be judged, like, who cares? Who cares what people think? Like, do you. Be happy.
Love conquers all. Because if we love each other the same way, like, we want to be, like, show us love, then that would just keep the world spinning the right way it's supposed to be.
Don't stop believing in yourself.
Live life with an open mind and treat everyone. Don't like, this is so cliche, but don't judge people on their like outward appearance and or even in first impression, because some people can have a shell that they will break out of and stuff like that. People are so much more than what they seem from when you first meet them or what they look like.
Everything will be fine.
This
this is actually a phrase in, it's one of our prayers. It's called Nanak Nam Chardi Kala Tere Pane Sarvata Bala. And it's literally, we say it in our prayer every single day. And it means, and let me try to translate it. So in God's name, everyone is the same. And my prayer is that in this world, everyone, like humanity in general, it's wishing them like prosperity and wellness, good health.
Just be open with each other.
It's hard to be the person who never gives up.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
Okay.
And emphasizing be. Like, that's a verb, a noun, an adverb. It's whatever you want it to be. So whatever entity you need to make yourself, that's what you need to be. And then the change, that's also a verb, an adverb, a noun. You need to do what you have to do, whether you have to act on it alone or in a group or just starting with yourself. Be and then the change.
Well, the most positive thing I could say to help spark that movement would be to read, to write, to meet people, especially people that don't look like you. The only way to understand that everybody's the same is to see it for yourself. If it's not good enough for you to have it told to you, live it yourself. Live equality and you'll figure it out.
Be kind enough to yourself that you can be kind enough to the world.
I believe progress is possible. It takes a long time and it takes a lot of effort from everyone, but I do believe it's possible.
I'm saying this at the bottom of my heart with sincere gratitude that we have to not give up, but pursuit of happiness.
Be true to yourself and just go out into the world with love.
Love above all else.
Always a happy, positive person. I always like to treat everyone that same way. Treat them with fairness, with the respect that they deserve. Everything happens for a reason. And I'm an open-minded and positive person, so that's worked out for me no matter what.
Smile. Whenever you meet somebody new, kind of treat them like they're an old friend.
Go get some context.
Everybody's mean out there. It's easy to be mean. It takes a strong person to be nice in the environment that we're in.